Hogstye.
Hey everybody, it is your host Alex. It is the Hogstye. It is Tuesday night, so I got those things mixed up in order because, well, we're used to doing this on Wednesday. The reason we're doing the show, of course, on Tuesday night is because the game is on Thursday night, and we want to give everyone a day at least to listen to the show. Welcome to the Hogstye. It is it is Steve, it is Dave. Guys, how you doing? How are things going on in your lives, in your neck of the woods?
It's things are going very well down here in South Texas.
Yeah.
I'm on the road again for the rest of the week, so it's kind of fortunate that the schedule worked out this way for me. But all is well.
All is well for you.
I
Dave,
have a concert report. Saw Guns N'
Oh.
Roses.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah, I almost didn't go. I really almost didn't go because I was just convinced. One, it's a 3-hour show and it was during the week, and so that's tough because I got to get up super early in the morning. But I was convinced that Axl Rose can't sing at all.
I mean,
And I
he
didn't
sing
wanna-
even when he was like able to sing.
Now, even when he was in his prime, he was more of a studio singer, if we're being
Right.
honest.
Yeah.
You know, and that high screeching falsetto thing he does, like no human being can do that regularly.
No.
Right?
You need mics and amplification and
Well,
certain-
and you need, things like sound engineers,
Yes.
to get that kind of sound out. And his voice was nowhere near, but I was glad I saw it because it's Guns N' Roses. I had never seen him before, so that was good. I left. I had to leave. It got to be, they didn't even hit stage until 10 or till after 8. And it got to be about 10:20. And I was like, I can't stay for this. I got to go.
Well, I mean, you are everyone knows a Guns N' Roses fan in general, but like you're a guitar nut.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Slash has got to be on that bucket.
Well, so
list,
I
right?
have already seen Slash play, though. I saw Slash's
okay.
solo band do all these songs with his solo singer, Miles Kennedy, who's
Okay.
a way better singer than Axl ever was. So that was why I was a little, but I'm glad I did it. It's a worthwhile show. So, they played way too long, a whole bunch of songs that nobody knew at all. A bunch of zillion covers. They could have cut that. If they'd just come to me, I would have told them cut this down to like hour 45. It would have been awesome.
Yeah, so you lucked out because the Thursday night game doesn't mess with, or it does mess with your road trip that you're going on, but it means you can do the show.
Yeah.
I lucked out in a weird
Yeah.
way because it's my 40th birthday this weekend, and so I can like go do a birthday thing and, not just sit in front of the TV watching the game. So like it works out well there.
I have to figure out how to steal Amazon Prime signal, though, especially on the road. So I have to figure out how to do that.
Yeah.
And yes, I do mean steal,
Yes.
for the record.
You might be able to access it through.
La 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 la. Don't say it, Dave.
I'm not. But you get my point.
Yeah, that's gonna be my first shot at it. Yeah. Then I might have to hit up a local sports bar or something.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, not like there's a shortage of sports bars in New Orleans.
I'm going to New Orleans. If anybody's in New Orleans this week, please don't bother me.
Not like they're going to be able to find you. They don't know.
No,
what
I'm
you
not
look
going to
like.
wear my Hogstye shirt, but
Right.
All I know is Monday was interesting for me because there were you could definitely tell that there were a lot of Eagle fans at my work. They were just like, man, we almost lost that one. Of course, a couple of guys like, you didn't really think you were going to win that game. I was like, yeah, we deserve to win that game. It's like, I lost my words on that one, but whatever.
I don't know if I would go that far, but we're going to talk about it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
well,
we'll talk about it, and I'll tell you why we deserved it.
Yeah. Why,
We'll go
why don't
for
we get into it? I mean, I think we kind of all were thinking it was going to be ugly, and an ugly loss, honestly. And they
Yes.
made it a very, very competitive game. That was a fun game to watch overall. Back and forth. You get an overtime. What more could you want in terms of entertainment? What more could you want in a football game?
Oh, from a
Right.
purely objective standpoint, which I'm more objective these days than I used to be, for reasons I've discussed, outstanding game to watch.
Yeah.
Came
Yes.
down to the last second drama. Absolutely
Twice.
great
Came
game.
down to the last second twice.
It did.
Technically.
Technically
Yeah.
speaking, yes. Okay, let's do some stats here first of all. because I just love
Please.
these numbers. So Sam Howell was 29 for 41 for 290 yards, 1 touchdown, no interception, and a quarterback rating of 98.6. Brian Robinson Jr. was the leading rusher, 14 carries, 45 yards, average of 3.2 yards per carry. Antonio Gibson was 6 for 19, 3.2 yards per carry. Sam Howell was six scrambles for 40 yards. And in total as a team, they were 28 for 107, 3.8 yards per carry. Terry McLaurin was leading receiver, 8 for 86, 10.8 yards per reception on 10 targets. De'Ami Brown, 2 for 51. Curtis Samuel, 7 for 51. Logan Thomas, 3 for 41. John Dotson, 4 for 27. And on defense, Cam Curl was the leading tackler with 12, including 9 solo. Cody Barton and Emmanuel Forbes were next with 9. The sacks are Cam Curl with 1, John Allen 1, Chase Young with 1. And on the so let's see. Do we play the Trustway game today? No, we're not going to play the Trustway game today because Hal had a bunch of passing yards. He was 5 for 213. But I do want to read some Eagles stats because I want to get to this. Jalen Hurts, 25 for 37, 319 yards, 2 touchdowns, quarterback rating 112. DeAndre Swift, 14 for 56, rushing. AJ Brown, 9 for 175 yards receiving on 13 targets. Devontae Smith, 7 for 78 yards. So, wow. So that is stats for this week.
Yeah, and I mean, given that it was a high-scoring shootout, I guess none of those big numbers on offense should surprise us for either side.
Right.
The things that stood out right away. Obviously, everyone's talking about how Sam Howell bounced back nicely in this game versus what he did in Buffalo. That's been kind of the talk of the town here in DC, and that shouldn't surprise either of you. I'd think like he did. He adjusted his game and played a lot better this week versus last week.
I mean, it doesn't surprise me that you're concluding that. It surprised me that it happened quite that well.
Yeah, I think that's fair. We didn't expect it to be.
No, not like that. And what I noticed, for me, what I noticed is his release got dramatically better. I think he probably watched a lot of film and saw what he was doing, hold the ball, because he was, for the most part, he was getting the ball that quick, and that made all the difference in the world. Now, I do have to say, he was still sacked 5 times, so he's up to 24 sacks in 4 games.
Right.
But the ball was thrown much better than it was. So I give him a lot of credit for that, and his quarterback coach, probably helped him a lot too.
And his, he did a good job escaping a few times there. Obviously, like you said, he had 40 yards. You said
40 yards rushing. Yeah, all of them are scrambles, busted play scrambles.
They don't do planned runs with him at this point.
Not with him. I mean, Lamar Jackson, those guys, yes, but not him.
Right, and they shouldn't.
No.
Well, I think one of the reasons why I thought we kind of actually really deserved to win this game, not that we should have won the game, I'm just saying, Eric Bieniemy went from throwing the ball at a clip of almost 3-1, like the week prior to this week. It was a very balanced offense, even though the running game wasn't really working. I think like 2.8 yards a carry in the first half for the running backs, but he kept the defense honest enough to be able to work that off into the passing game. And you saw, just like what Steve said, the changes that Sam Howell made, the game plan that Eric Bieniemy ran. He ran a lot more shorter routes this week. It was almost like he kind of narrowed down the progressions for Howell this week, because it was read, release. There was no long developing routes for him to go downfield right away in the first half, especially. So it kept the ball moving. It developed the rhythm, developed the real good chemistry for the first half for that offense, for him to get up in the lead and go in halftime with the lead. It was a very strong first half. I was impressed by that first half. And to be honest with you, I really didn't even think that they were going to be able to do anything about that Eagle defensive front, but they did. Yeah, they had 5 sacks in that game, and I believe double-digit quarterback pressures throughout that game. But the big difference is that he kept the pocket moving. Sam Howell navigated the pocket when he had to. And there were 3 instances, especially the final touchdown, put them in overtime, where Howe stood strong in the pocket, saw the receiver, threw the ball accurately while he knew he was going to get hit at the same time. And the ball came out accurate, and it was just like a 180 flip of Sam Howell this week. And I thought he had a really good game, good adjustments.
In terms of balance, at the end of the first quarter, Howell was 4 for 6, but there were 2 scrambles, so there were really 8 called pass plays, and then 8 runs. It was exactly balanced. And then at halftime, there were 17 pass attempts and then 2 scrambles, so 19 called passes and then 13 called rushes. So it got a little bit out of balance, and I don't have the.
That's not too bad, though, all things
No,
considered.
it's not.
Yeah, no.
I didn't save the third quarter, but by the end of the day, it was pretty far out of whack. But they also had, some last-minute drives and stuff that had to be done.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. You had a shootout situation.
Yeah.
In that fourth quarter and overtime.
And if you would technically, you want the numbers. So it's by the end of the day, there were 41 pass attempts with 6 scrambles. So it's 47 called passes. And then 14, 20, 21 real true running plays.
It's
and I
still
discounted the Logan
1,
Thomas, the Logan Thomas gadget play. It's still it's still a lot. I mean, I thought that Bieniemy's game plan was better. I don't worship at his altar like some fans do. I think he's been questionable, to be honest, this year. This game was better. And they knew that the run game wasn't going to work very well. You knew that, but you had to try it because the Eagles, it's the Eagles.
Yeah.
But you had to try it because that's the way you can get an offense like this going when you have a quarterback who's a young guy like this.
And look, I know you can say, well, how do you count this quarterback scrambles? They did get to 100 rushing yards overall. I don't think anyone else has gotten to that number against the Eagles.
I mean, it's 40 yards scrambling by the quarterback, though. I
Sure.
mean, I barely get. Yes, there's 100 yards, but the running backs were actually pretty bad. Okay?
Yeah,
right.
I mean, they had a couple big runs here and there, but there were a lot of tackled for like 1 yard loss type runs.
Yeah, I mean, as an example, so Brian Robinson, 14 for 45, the long was 15, so that puts him at 13 for 30. That's under 3 yards a carry.
Right.
That's like 2.7 yards a carry, other than 1 long run. And then you got Antonio Gibson was 6 for 19, but long at 10, so that's 5 for 9 yards. That's less than 1 yard per carry.
Yeah.
So they were bad, but it was also the Eagles. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, see,
Eagles are a very good team, and let's be honest. I don't like how everyone's like, well, it's a moral victory. Like that's
There's
ridiculous.
no such thing as moral victories.
No, absolutely not. No.
Yeah. That would also, say that there's a morality to a sport, which there's generally not morality in an entertainment thing. So, like, but they played well. They played better than expected. There's stuff you can develop around. I get the feeling a lot of people are now calming down about how, remember, he's basically a rookie and he's going to have good games. He's going to have bad games. And he's going to have more good games and he'll have more bad games this year. We don't know. That's going to be the thing we're learning about him this year.
And I think these next 3 games leading back into the rematch against the Eagles are going to be real telling on Eric Bieniemy and what he's really doing offensively, because because I'm beginning to wonder if he's just adding a little more each week and trying to get a better feel for the offensive line, what he needs to do with Hal in terms of coaching him up for his release, and going through his progressions and wondering what he can and cannot call because of the offensive line, how much he has to rely on misdirection and play action, move in the pocket and stuff like that. And now these next 3 games where we have the Bears, Falcons, and Giants, we have the luxury going against defenses now to where the playbook can open up a little bit more now, and he could do a little bit more before we get back into that rematch with the Eagles. So these next 3 weeks, I think, is going to be real telling on Bieniemy and what his offense is potentially
they should be able to feast on offense these next 3 weeks. No question about that. The thing about Bieniemy's so far, he's already had 2 30-point games this season. We've gone 2 years without that before him. So,
Right.
you know,
I'm not saying he's not an improvement. I just think
Yeah.
it's a bit too fanboyish to sit here and sing his praises when it's been highly questionable so
oh,
far.
I don't think he's like one of the most creative offensive minds in
No.
football or anything. I think he's a confident or a competent OC.
Certainly.
And his thing seems to be he's a hard motivator, that kind of thing. He's not an X's and O's guy,
Well,
which is what
listen,
everyone's.
even
Yeah.
average is an improvement.
Oh yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Over what they've been.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. We should probably flip and talk about the defense because as good as the offense played, the defense did not play well at all.
But before you do that though,
You have something
I
you
just
want
want
to
to go
cover?
back to O line because Dave, you mentioned it kind of in passing. The offensive line did somehow look much better at times this game,
Yeah.
which is odd considering who they faced versus the teams they looked really bad at times this week. So I don't know what they did. We haven't studied the film here yet. It's Tuesday. We haven't done any of it, so I don't know. But I think it's something to watch. Did they get lucky? Did the Eagles have an off day? Perhaps. Fletcher Cox beat Sam Cosmi like a drum several times.
Mm-hmm.
But he's Fletcher Cox.
Yeah, I know, and I pointed that out as one a matchup to watch, in the
Yeah.
game preview. But it wasn't a total disaster like it could have been on the offensive line, which is what I thought it would be, and so kudos to them. But now I'm done.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. Let's talk about the defense, because Chase Young had a sack, but there was not a lot of big plays by this defense at all through the
No.
game. This is, a couple games now, it feels like where the defense is a little lost, honestly. I don't think they're playing well as a unit, on any level, particularly. We had maybe one good game by the front four, and that's been it in the first quarter of the season.
There have been a few individual good performances, like Deron Payne was a
Sure.
madman, last week.
Right.
But yeah, as a whole, no, I don't think the defense has looked particularly great. I don't think, considering how there's 4 first-round picks on the defensive front,
Yeah.
I don't think they've lived up to the hype. I don't think Chase Young has lived up to the hype. John Allen has been remarkably quiet all year.
Right.
And yes, I mean, they were facing Travis Kelce, or not to Jason Kelce in the middle, who's one of the best centers in the game, and that was another thing to watch. Deron Payne, Travis Kelce, Jason Kelce, but Kelce kind of won, the battle inside because that Washington didn't really do much in the interior.
Right.
So I'm just a little bit underwhelmed, I guess is the way to say it, about the performance. I was very underwhelmed this week about the performance of the defensive front, and I've been kind of underwhelmed at times all year about that.
Well, I agree with everything that you guys said, and I've been pretty disappointed myself on a lot of aspects, starting with the linebacking core, but we're beating a dead horse on that one, so I won't go
Yeah.
down that road again. But there was something which I put in my article that someone brought to everyone's attention through Junks Radio. Jack Del Rio's first 4 years here, his first 4 weeks of the season, he's averaged anywhere from 26 as much as 30 points per game average.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I didn't go in full detail on what like their defensive pressure rate was and all that stuff. I didn't go into that level. But so this year, first four games were 30 points per game average up. Now we're going into week 5, and that's been the magic number every single year, where we have two of the years were around 18 points per game. One went from 30 points. 2021 went from 30 points per game average down to 24 points per game average. And so now, do we see that same shift? So I'm curious, has that been the history of Jack Del Rio's defenses? I've never paid much mind to that, because that has been pretty true on many aspects, where we've noticed we've always had our complaints about the defense, being, they don't adjust very well. They have players out of position. Next thing you know, they're picking up where the offenses remain stale and stagnant, and and it's like we're wishing the offense would do something because that defense is playing well. Well, if this happens again and this defense does end up doing what they did the last 4 years, and this offense can keep performing the way it is, where could this team ultimately end up going now, since we seem to have more of a competent offensive coordinator and what appears to be a better quarterback who's going to have his up and downs? So I'm curious to see what Jack Del Rio's defense is going to do starting this week going forward.
I mean, his defense should do pretty well the next 3 weeks.
That's true.
This is the best stretch of the schedule for everyone to start getting right.
Right.
Here's my thing, though. Like, we're 55 games into the Ron Rivera, Jack Del Rio defense, and they've been very, very average in terms of points allowed the entire time. Like, you average it out.
They've been bad at times.
They've been very bad at times too.
Yeah.
But if you average it out, they're averaging something like 22.5 points a game, which is definitively pedestrian for the NFL.
Right.
That's the league average for points allowed, usually something around there.
Especially when you have the investment on the defensive line that they have, and
they
have a secondary that's, I mean, outside of Fuller, I like most of what their secondary is. I mean,
even
even
the secondary
Fuller's
sucked donkey balls this week, though.
Yeah,
it was terrible this year. But then again, they went
terrible.
through probably the best duo wide receivers they're going to see all year long, anyways.
Maybe, but they were still terrible.
Absolutely.
There's no excuse for that. It's another position group they put a ton of resources into.
Yeah.
Yep.
Multiple draft picks, a guy making a lot of money, and the team just has the right to expect better than that.
Yeah, absolutely. And my issue with what they did this last game was you see Fuller's getting beaten like a drum, and
So did
seems
Emmanuel
like
Forbes, though.
Yeah.
Or not Fuller. Forbes was really the one getting. But
Yeah.
they didn't. It felt like they didn't really make any changes. Like what
They gave
adjustments?
him no help. They gave him no help on the backside.
You were playing cover zero almost the whole
Right.
game. Seemed like change that up, do something, because that clearly wasn't working.
Especially for the young kid like that. I agree with you 100%. They should have started having a safety rolling over top every time. And in fact, even turn around to St. Juice and say, listen, man, that young kid's getting destroyed out there. You got to be one-on-one with somebody out there on the other side. We cannot allow this kid to getting killed every week or every play.
You just can't play cover 2 all the time. If he can't play, he needs to be benched. It's simple as that.
Yeah. Well, and towards the end there, it looked like Forbes was in his own head. Like you saw
absolutely.
That cutaway of him on the bench, kind of like freaking out, talking to people.
Well, it was immediately after he gave up a huge touchdown, got burned by AJ Brown.
Right, but it definitely looked like he was rattled to me.
Yeah, fair.
And young guy, all right, he's good. He's still, it's gonna happen.
And it's only one game. I think I just caution people not to overreact. It's one game. Even if you say he's played mediocre at best the entire season, it's 4 games.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
People deserve more of a chance than that.
And if anything, right now, I think Jack Del Rio deserves more of the heat than Forbes, because he hasn't done anything to help him and protect him in these situations right now.
Jack Del Rio's done a lot more things
anyway.
wrong. Jack Del Rio has done a lot more things wrong. I agree. And I would add to that, you didn't hire a linebacker worth the tinker's damn. You didn't advocate for drafting a linebacker.
You frankly just got worse at linebacker.
You got worse at linebacker. I think you said it in your column. Cody Barton for is the switch.
Cox.
No, the other one, the guy.
For Cole Holcomb.
Thank you, Cole Holcomb. That's a net
we
negative.
We got worse with that. Yes.
Yeah, you got worse there. And no, Jack Del Rio is not in charge of the draft or anything, but he's got to stand on a table about it. Did he do that? No, doesn't sound like it.
No. I mean, and we've beaten that dead horse about these.
I know,
these
but I
guys
keep
in
saying it
so
because
much.
It's so obvious.
Yeah, but we're gonna keep beating that dead horse until they fix it.
Will somebody explain to me why Jabril Cox? Yeah, well, I don't get it.
Try anybody. You have all other guys on the roster you're not playing. There was a crazy stat of how little the other draft picks this year have played so far on offense and defense. They're all just playing special teams, if at all.
Jartavius Martin isn't getting a ton of
None of them
defensive snaps.
They're all getting maybe. I think no one has more than 20 snaps of all the rookies. It's absurd. Like, how are these guys going to develop? I'm all for like letting a quarterback sit and develop, but some of these other positions, you got to get guys on the field to get some play time.
Yeah, absolutely. I thought, kind of generally speaking, in this game, I thought Philadelphia offense they were kind of just off for a lot of this game.
A little bit here and there.
Yeah, and it was a confluence of circumstances. I think it could have been a lot worse for Washington. To their credit, they didn't let it get out of hand, at all times. But I do think they benefited a little bit from Philadelphia just not playing very well a little bit.
See, and that's the thing that I've even talked to guys at work about after the Tampa Bay game is like that offense. I don't know. There's something going on with Jalen Hurts. That there's some sort of an injury he was battling most offseason we didn't know about or something. But it's just his throws. A lot of his throws just seem to be off in many instances. It's just that offense just absolutely hasn't looked the same. And I think they're getting too creative in terms of they just want to cycle through all their running backs. Like Gainwell played most of the second half when Swift was
Swift was kicking our ass. Yeah.
Well, yeah, he had a couple really good runs against. I think he was under 4 yards a carry though, wasn't he? Against us overall. Or no, am I wrong about that?
Swift was 14 for 56 for 4 yards per carry, and his long was 8.
Okay.
It was just a long of 8. So that means he was more or less averaging 4 yards a carry. It's shade under for the rest of his performance.
So it's and especially in the passing game. I mean, he's a threat in the passing game, but they've been doing that all year, except for the one game Gainwell was out where he rushed for 175 yards. It's just, I think that I don't know. It's just something off about that Eagle offense.
It was
agree with.
It was just
like
something
that all year.
Just something off about it. I couldn't really put a finger on it.
Yeah, although let's be honest, they did kind of get into gear very well in that second half.
For sure. That's why I said it. Like at parts of the game, they did definitely get into gear in the second half. For sure. I thought I thought the long touchdown. I mean, the broadcast crew said it was almost a mistake. They could have run the clock down and kicked a field goal. They got a good kicker. They did give Washington a chance. And then I thought the taunting penalty on Brown was bogus, a stupid penalty, and that affected the game tremendously.
Sure.
You take 15
rule. That whole taunting rule has been driving me nuts the last couple of years.
I think the taunting rule is dumb. Yeah, and Brown, he put the ball. Yeah, he was kind of, F you sort of to Forbes, put the ball down in front. But you know what? It's not that big a deal.
Well, you know what? Don't let them score again. There you go.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there you go. Even better.
Like it should be way more egregious than it is to get a penalty. I think we all like, if you went and grab somebody's face mask, something physical, sure, call it. But what it is right now is absurd. The thing that I was wondering about, and I'm probably I'm almost sure I'm wrong. That McLaurin catch that was called out of bounds, where his foot rolled over the safety's leg or arm.
Arm, yeah.
I think by rule that could have been called in bounds because by stepping on the guy, you're forced out because you can't touch the ground because of him.
Well, no, because I know if you're a running back. And you roll over top of a body already on the ground, they don't consider you down by contact. You can actually roll over top of him and get back up without having any knees to the ground and continue running. I've seen that a handful of times. Now, I kind of agree that maybe there should be kind of a rule in place for that.
So there kind of is. That's my point.
There's a rule in place. I'm going to defer on it because I can't remember the rule.
So I looked it up and I posted about it. I can't find what I wrote.
I'll vamp while you find it because the rule was changed. At one point, the defender could force the player out of bounds, and then that's out of bounds. And then at one point, the opposite was true, where the defender could not force somebody. And I don't know where we are now with it.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to find.
Well, now I believe you could be forced out of bounds.
We're gonna
And it
find
won't
it.
be a
If
catch.
Okay, I
Alex
found it.
looked it up. Okay.
Yep. If a player who's in possession of the ball is held up or carried out of bounds by an opponent before both feet or any part of his body other than his hands touches the ground in bounds, it is a completed pass or interception. It is not necessary for the player to maintain control of the ball when he lands out of bounds.
Okay.
That's the rule.
So
as it is.
based on that
Okay.
rule, that would suggest that you're right.
Yeah, but the carried thing I understand is what makes it kind of tricky, because he wasn't carried out, but he was forced out because his foot literally just rolled over the guy.
I'll tell you what was a far more egregious call to me was that one of those Philadelphia Eagle, butt push ones.
Oh yeah, they jumped off sides.
Well, I mean, the guard jumped offside, the center moved the ball. It
Mhm.
was pretty egregious that the refs just missed that. I
You
thought.
know what? If you watch every single Eagle game, especially Lane Johnson, they do, and now it seems like their left tackle starting to do the same thing. And I said to the guys at work too, and they just laugh about it because they know it's true. They had that weird kick out with their foot. They kick their foot back, don't really move too much with the body, and they never call the flag on it. But what always drove me nuts is Morgan Moses did a similar thing like that for years. And the one thing that always killed our drives is that he get a false start flag every single time. It seems like he was called for doing that. Because Lane Johnson does it every game.
I mean,
and never
there's
gets
a guy
a
for the
flag.
Chiefs who does it all the time too. Now there's multiple guys at tackle who seem to have this move that they can get away with every time. It makes
That
no
wasn't
sense.
even what
And-
happened in that play, though. That
No,
was
it did
just the
happen in that
guard
play
jumped-
along with the guy jumping
Yeah,
offside.
but the
Yeah.
egregious one was the guard jumping. It was
Yeah.
clearly offsides, and
Right.
Jason Kelsey too.
Yeah.
With the ball. I mean, that was egregious. I thought.
What I thought was interesting with how Washington tried to stop that play is, did you notice how low that the nose tackle was getting?
Yep.
Well, it's the only
like,
way.
He
And that's-
had
and
like
that's-
his head was on the ground to try and.
And that's why they need to outlaw that play. It's not because it's unstoppable, because it is. Someone's going to get hurt because now they're positioned to get lower to a point where you're now at the knees or below the knees, and if that center is being pushed forward, and if that nose tackle gets up into him just right and gets into his knee, and he can't move his leg, and now he's being pushed from behind. That's why that play is so dangerous.
Well,
Someone's going to get hurt.
But also, I mean, it's not rugby. There's not a rugby scrum. It is supposed to
Right.
be football, and to a certain extent, it is sort of contrary to the spirit and intent of how football is supposed to be played. You're not supposed to physically carry your teammate.
There was a
across
time
the
when
line.
what they're doing was outlawed in football.
Yes.
And when they rewrote one of the rules, it became okay to do this somehow. Either by accident. I don't think they intentionally got rid of it when they rewrote the rules, but
It's a very hard play to stop, though. I mean, if
Yeah.
all you need
But-
is a foot and a half, how you gonna stop?
But you also be surprised that there are the Philly fans I work with anyway. There's a lot of them that want to see that play stopped anyway, because what happens if someone comes over the top and they hit Jalen Hurts just right in the helmet, and
Concussion.
ranks his neck,
Oh.
a concussion or something.
Yeah.
who
I
was
mean,
it? Was
trust me, they don't like that play that much either.
Was it Curl who did that on one of the plays? Cam Curl just went after Hurts' head on one of them.
I don't remember that one.
I think I know what you're talking about. Yeah,
Yeah,
he did
Yeah.
try to come up over top.
yeah.
So-
Which it's the only way to stop it. Go after
Right.
his head. Look, it's probably going to get outlawed at some point, I think. And the Eagles will somehow claim a victory lap when that happens. I'm sure they will. That's what they love to do. All right. Anything else kind of stand out for you guys on the defense? It's a day to forget in my mind.
Yeah, it was not one of their prouder moments. Understanding they were playing a Super Bowl contender,
Right.
but it was the secondary in particular. If you want to pick a goat of the week, it would be the secondary, in my view.
In general, yeah.
Yeah.
I know everyone was focusing on Forbes, but nobody had a good day. Yeah,
No,
there.
no,
Yeah.
but the front four was merely invisible, whereas the secondary actively hurt the team.
Yeah. And
And
linebackers
did we
we
mention
would
how
yell at,
bad-
but they didn't do anything.
And did we mention how bad Barton is? Just make sure we get that on the show.
We've
that's all.
said it,
let's
but
just-
let's say it
Okay.
again,
All right.
please.
Yeah, I'm just making sure we talk about how bad of a
We-
signing that was with Barton.
He's-
And I'm not going to
we need new
apologize for his
linebacker.
parents either.
Listen, Mr. and Mrs. Barton, we got to be honest. Your son's made a lot of money. He's a way better athlete than I ever was or will be, and I respect his effort to get into the NFL. But the man is not a starting NFL linebacker.
No.
No.
How about
he
that?
Could be,
Is that
he would be
That
a
was,
good
that
fourth
was
guy.
a much nicer way to put it than I
Yeah.
would have, Steve. Thank you.
If you had Cody Barton and he's your fourth linebacker, that's a good fourth linebacker.
Yeah. He's also
Yeah.
playing special teams too, and you could use him
Right.
there.
Right.
Absolutely.
And we have had some parents who have followed us at times on this show, so it's not totally out of the realm of possible to think that Cody Barton's mom and dad are listening.
Might hear it. Yeah.
If
All
I
right,
get
well-
a knock on the door this week, right? Don't answer.
well, I'm using a fake name, so no, you might get a knock on the door.
That's what I said. If I get a knock on the door.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So why don't we change gears?
Before
and,
you do that, we need to pick. Do we not need to pick game balls?
Okay, you want to do game balls? We got our butts kicked the last week. And didn't
It's
do
always
game balls.
fun to do game balls in losses.
Are we doing game balls or deflated game balls?
It's up to you.
Okay, all right. Dealer's choice. You can give a game ball for like a good job by, or a deflated game ball. That's fun. All right, Steve, it's your idea. Do you have names?
Okay, there's not a great name on offense who really stuck out particularly well. I didn't think, but I do think Terry McLaurin at 86 yards coverage against some quality secondary, so he gets honorable mention. But I do think Sam Howell deserves a game ball for bouncing back from his horrible performance last week, and he was pretty good this week. Suffered 5 sacks, so he gets the game ball. And should I be a jerk?
Yes.
I'm going to
Yes,
give a
you should.
deflated game ball to Emmanuel Forbes for single-handedly destroying the game.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair.
It's mean, but okay.
Sure, it is. It's mean, but he had a bad game.
Yes.
It's a take that deflated game ball, Emmanuel, and bring it inside your soul and reinflate it for next week.
It's either that or I give the game ball give the game ball to the other side or something like I occasionally
Right.
do.
Okay, Dave, do you need a minute? Or I can. Fumble
I
my
can
way
go
through.
now. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm
Go ahead.
gonna give a game ball to Eric Bieniemy. I thought he did a good job on coaching up Hal this week and getting him in the best positions possible to succeed. So I'm going to give it to Eric Bieniemy on that one. But I'm going to go deflated game ball to Cody Barton. And I'd like for him to take that deflated game ball and go find a rusty playground somewhere and don't bother coming to the game tomorrow night. And let's bring up Jabril Cox.
Well,
He's ready
Dave
for
wishing
Cox.
injury on Cody Barton.
No, not injury. Well, rusty. Yeah, I guess you are. I guess you're right.
Yes, you are.
Yeah, Dave is all ready for Cox. That's what it is.
Alex with the pun from the upper.
With the
There it
pun.
is. There it
Yes.
is.
All right, game ball. How about this? I'm going to give a game ball to Curtis Samuel. Not a big Curtis Samuel guy usually, but he had that nice little run for a touchdown. All right, I'm going to give him a game ball.
Okay. fair enough.
And he also had 7 receptions. He led the team he didn't lead the team in receptions, but number 2. He had a good day. Deflated game ball. I'm going to go Cam Cheeseman. His punt snaps are really bad now too, if you didn't notice. And that's part of why Tress Way had some bad punts. Is he was like picking punts off the grass to make the kick.
I'm gonna live and die by Cam Cheeseman because that Rubio guy told me he was good. So I'm gonna die on the Cam Cheeseman hill because of that.
You're gonna die on the hill of cheese.
Yes.
Which is what I did on my trip in France a few months back.
Well, you're here, so you didn't die.
That's true. Yeah. All right. So there you go. Game balls are given out. Let us go on to this week's game. A note for anyone going to the game. The Commanders and Metro have come to an agreement to keep Metro open late for the game. So trains will be running until 12:20 from the stadium if you take Metro out there. Just service announcement for everybody. They also, apparently it's a 5-year joint promotional agreement between Metro and the team to get people to take Metro to games and to keep Metro open late for late night games.
That's good, because I want to say the old administration did not do that.
No, well, so Metro had to institute this policy that you had to pay to keep Metro open late. Like,
And I don't
didn't
think
matter.
Washington did every time.
They didn't a couple times, and then they started
Right.
caving and doing it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because they realized how stupid and
How
bad
absurd
PR
it is.
it was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, but this begs the question: is Dave Earl going to go to this game?
I am, and I will be driving. Yes.
And are you going to drive home and then go to work the next day?
Yes, I will be. Yes.
It'll be a long day for you.
It's going to be a long day, yes, but I got to save my vacation time because I got my daughter's wedding coming up, so I want to take some time off for that. And I'm going to have a cruise next year too, so I got to save 10 days worth of vacation time for that. So,
Nice.
yes, I will be roughing it. I'll be toughing it out on Friday.
Yeah, well, it won't be good,
Yeah.
but you're going to be fine.
I would ask you where you're cruising to, but we don't want to put that on the show. But yeah,
It'll be on a it'll be on a cruise ship on one of the major cruise boats. How about that?
you're not taking a little small boat with a fat captain and an incompetent first mate and a millionaire.
No, because that ending will absolutely happen to me if I did that.
All right, well, let's talk about this game versus Chicago. We're playing the Bears again on a Thursday, which, if you don't remember, they did this last year, and it was one of the ugliest games you've probably ever seen in your life as a fan. I believe Washington won 15-12, 15-13. I'm
Something
going
like that. I'll look it up here in a minute.
It was a sloppy, low-scoring game in which Carson Wentz basically ended his career despite winning. It was that bad.
Right.
Okay, that game was 12-7.
12-7. Oh, I was giving him way too much.
I believe
15.
I believe Wentz got hurt in the first half too, didn't he? But he played through it or something like that or whatever.
Yeah, like he broke
But-
something and kept playing, and that's why
Yeah.
he missed most of his passes. Chicago's a mess. I'm seeing rumors that if they lose this game, there's a good chance they'll fire their head coach. They're already fired their defensive coordinator.
Well, he had a bunch of weird issues too, though. It wasn't just.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It was not just performance. He was being investigated for like kiddie porn
Right.
or something, or
Right.
sex
FBI
trafficking or
was
something.
called.
Yeah.
Yes.
I
we
don't know a
talked
lot about
that.
I don't know a ton about the case, but I mean, yeah.
There hasn't been a lot out about it since he resigned. But
Well, not only did that, but I mean, just the quarterback, Justin Fields, it looked like he had criticized the coaching staff, and he kind of backed away from that and said that wasn't my intent, but it still wasn't good. So they've had chaos, and they before they lost to the Broncos. They're 0-4, lost to the Broncos 31-28, but before that they've gotten destroyed by every team.
yeah,
20
they've
to
been kind of a
38.
mess, and
Yeah.
That's not to say this is a all-out bad team. Justin Fields, for all his problems, he can make some plays. This is not a totally inept team offensively.
Well, here's the stats.
Yeah.
He's this year 79 for 120, 79 completions, 123 attempts, 64.2% completion percentage, 7 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, quarterback rating of 86.8. So no, he's not a disaster.
No,
It's
he's
not
not great.
But it's
But, yeah.
also not a disaster.
And we struggle against mobile quarterbacks, so
There you
he's
go.
a little more than mobile.
Yeah,
Oh, that is definitely true.
he has 28 carries for 134 yards
Yeah.
rushing.
Yeah. So he's still able to do that, even though they're trying to get him to stop rushing, which to me seems
Yeah, why?
questionable.
Why would you do that?
Yeah, and they have decent weapons too. DJ Moore's having a good year, and they got a good tight end now in Kmet, and this is not a totally inept offense Washington's going against here. So
Right.
I see a lot of people thinking we're just going to roll over on these guys. No, this is going to be a tough game. I think, for the
Well,
defense.
people who think that give Washington too much credit. I mean, the
Yeah.
Bears are looking at this as a game they can do okay in.
Yeah.
Washington's 2-2. Not great, not terrible, not great, but they're looking at this as hell of a lot easier than the Chiefs and the Packers.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Oh yeah.
Who they've played.
Yeah. I mean, the issue for the Chicago Bears really, it's this thing with the defense, and you lose your coordinator that, regardless of why or how, like, it's gonna mess with a defense's chemistry quite a bit, and they just don't have a lot of talent on that side. So
they're also missing half their starting secondary, which doesn't help.
Speaking of that, so here's the injury report. So Washington, this is as of Monday. Christian Holmes, who, for those of you who don't know who he is, he's a corner on the team who barely plays. DNP, a back. Curtis Samuel, quad, was DNP. John Dotson, limited. Chris Rodriguez apparently had an illness. He's limited. Jartavius Martin, thumb, full practice. Benjamin J. St. Jude's neck, but full practice. And in the Bears, Chase Claypool, the receiver, Eddie Jackson, the safety, and Jalen Johnson, who's the starting corner, all DNP. And then Tevin Jenkins full. So that's injury report.
Okay. And remind me, injury reports do come out a day earlier for the Thursday games. That's what. So.
Well, they start doing it. Is it 3? When Friday? Say they start doing it 4 days before the game, and so that's Monday for the Thursday games.
Right. So they do move all this stuff up. Yeah.
Yes, they do move it all up.
Yeah.
The bettors have to have their information.
Yes, it's all about it really, and sadly
it is what it is. I'm not being facetious. It's a betting thing.
Yeah, It has nothing to do with just diehard fans wanting info.
No.
Yeah. So I'm sure you guys have watched some of the Bears, as have I. At least going through some highlights and stuff like that. I really do think Washington's got to be ready. This could be a trap game.
It could be, it for sure. And you got to also remember, history is against Washington on Thursday nights. Washington's been absolutely atrocious on Thursdays. They're almost. I did some analysis of this last year. They're just about the worst team in the NFL on Thursday night football. They're horrible on Thursdays. Thursdays and primetime games generally, they're primetime games. They're terrible.
Yeah.
So I do think it's kind of a trap game because, again, the Bears look at this as a get well game for them. And yes, they have problems on defense. But Justin Fields is, as you pointed out, the exact type of quarterback that Washington has problems with.
And despite losing, he had a pretty good day last week. I think he threw all 4 of the touchdowns.
Yeah, they had 4 touchdowns.
Yeah. So, I would say
basically to avert any kind of a letdown, the enemy has got to do everything within his power to go into this game and just run Brian Robinson Jr. Just run him. Control the clock early. Control the tempo. Just move the ball down the field. Keep the ball out of Fields' hands. And just establish momentum going into halftime to prevent that letdown game.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the things they did that actually really helped them last week was they ran it hard in that first drive, especially. But like the whole early on, Steve said they were even 50-50 run versus pass. That's a good formula. Take some of the nerves out of the game, take some wind out of the sails early, and run that ball. I know it's not what he wants to do, but it's probably the smarter thing to do with a young quarterback. So here's my one question to you guys. How much will the pregame and stuff be? Well, look at Sam Howell versus Justin Fields, 2 young quarterbacks nonsense. I assume that's going to be the whole story.
Probably. I mean, there's not a lot of great storylines with the Bears.
No.
In terms of national NFL stuff that really jumps out. So yeah, I do think that's certainly probably the lead storyline, I would assume. I like Justin Fields. He's in a bad situation.
Yeah.
I've always say with quarterbacks, the principal effect on the quarterback's career is always the organization and the
Yeah.
coaches. And Justin Fields isn't in a good situation. So yeah, I think that is the biggest story here for sure.
They
But for
clearly have a coaching
Washington,
staff that doesn't want to build around him.
yeah, I think you said it. It's don't let him make an impact on the game with his legs, which is another thing Washington has historically not done particularly well. A quarterback like that, if you can keep him in the pocket, force him to pass, I think that's far better.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I think actually I think their main talking point going in this is just going to be Bieniemy How, because there's not a whole lot of interest outside of Fields on the Chicago side, and I think they're gonna overanalyze so much about what Bieniemy's done to this point, what he's done to How to this point, and where they need to go from here for this to work going down the stretch, especially over these next few games, to get themselves in position to have a playoff run going down the stretch. Because let's be honest, I mean, with the Bears, there just isn't much to talk about, and Bieniemy has been the talk of the last couple of years, being a head coach, being passed over. So I think Bieniemy is going to be talked a lot in the pregame on this, because just for that reason right there. Not that he may or may not deserve it. I just think that's what they're going to talk about.
Now, one thing I'd point out is that the Bears are just about the worst team in the NFL in terms of pressure. They have a grand total of 2 sacks as a team the entire year. And so if there's a game that's tailor-made for an offensive line that's pretty bad at pass pro, it's this one. If you see Sam Howell get sacked 5 times in this game, you'll know there's this very serious problem that isn't going anywhere.
People need to start getting fired if that happens.
Yes, exactly right.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Starting with the the head guy.
Yeah. By the way, so Steve, you when you said they were at 24 sacks now, I did the math. We're still on target for over 100.
I'm rooting for it.
I know you are. I just want to make sure, because we're going to keep watch on that.
Absolutely. I mean, 5 sacks a game.
Yep.
It's a little under, but we can have those occasional great performances where you get up to 7, 8, 9. That's what we need. So the trick here is we got to let the Bears. They've got to let the Bears get their sack. We've got to get at least 4 sacks out of this game to really stay on pace.
And that's a number where you're not going to lose if you give up 4 sacks either. Like that'll.
I don't even care about that. I want the sack record. Yeah.
Yeah. And speaking of sack records, the Giants, did they let, what was it, 11 sacks or something last night?
Was it really that many? I didn't.
I'm gonna look up their box score. It was ridiculous. They were getting their, they were getting it handed to them. That's for sure.
I mean, we'll get to the Giants on another week, but certainly things are not going well in Giant land.
No, things are not going well at all.
Alex is obsessed with this now. He's got to find
11. Yep, it was 11 sacks.
See, that is the kind of performance we need. We need an 11 sack game to really solidify this early on.
Right. One of those will
not
help.
Tomorrow night, or just not.
Oh, it'd be perfect. Are you kidding me? It'd be perfect.
No, I'm not driving 2 hours on a Thursday night to watch Sam Howell get sacked 11 times.
Nobody
Pick
told
another
you to,
game, Steve.
Nobody told
Pick
you
another
to buy
game,
these,
Steve.
Nobody told you to buy these tickets. Okay, it's your own fault. I don't have
the voice in
sympathy
his
for
head
this.
told him to buy it.
Yeah, but Steve, you could throw me a bone here. At least push
No, I
that
don't.
11 sack one for another week.
No, this is perfect. If you can give up 11 sacks to the Bears,
And still win.
yeah, well, that's secondary to getting the sack record. I would give the team a pep talk about this. Like, offensive line, we really need you to really, really suck this week.
Oh, man.
Well, we did want to kind of talk about the rest of the NFC East and, kind of do a state of the NFC East since we're 1 quarter way through the season. Obviously, we know what the Eagles are. We just saw them, and they're a very, very good team. We were just talking about the Giants. That might be, I don't know if they're the worst team in the NFL right now. That's a tough race to win.
Well, that might be the Bears.
It might be the Bears. It might be the Jets. I'm not sure. Well,
and the Carolina Panthers are 0-4 too.
Yeah, but the Panthers are at least in like an early stage of a rebuild. Like there's logic to.
Yeah, but I'm telling you, like they never should have taken Bryce Young. They drafted
CJ Stroud is looking like he should have been the number 1 overall pick.
some really smart guy said that in his draft preview that CJ Stroud was the best of the bunch.
Well, because he isn't 5'8".
Well, it's not only that, but Bryce Young's throwing motion wasn't any good. There were a lot of things with Bryce Young. The CJ Stroud was a much better prospect, I think. Here's let's do this. Impressions of NFC East. Right off the cuff. Dallas, I'm going to throw that Arizona game out. I don't know what that was going on there.
Yeah.
Every other game, they've freaking mauled people.
Yeah.
That is a scary team.
They really are. Right
I don't know what happened in that week. That's a scary team. Philadelphia has been, in spite of the 4-0 record, to me, a little bit less than I was expecting. And the Giants have been worse than I was expecting.
See, I always thought people were overinflating the Giants, but they're worse than I thought they would be. You know, I thought the Giants to me looked like they were going to be hovering around 500, 7-9-ish team. Right now they're looking like a, 2-15 kind of team. So
yeah, they do. They look really bad.
Yeah, like the wheels could come off with New York.
Real quick.
Yeah.
But I mean, for me, the Cowboys are exactly where, and unfortunately, I had to be right on this. They're right where I knew Dan Quinn was going to get this defense to be. They had the talent. Mike McCarthy's not the greatest coach in the world, but Dan Quinn, he can coach a defense. And he doing exactly that in Dallas, and he's getting the most, especially out of Michael Parsons and everything. The only silver lining to all this is that he'll probably be a head coach again, after this year. So he'll be out of the whole equation right there. So the Cowboys defense, I know you're going to get people on here. We're also Cowboys. Hey, America's team. It's a sham, and people always build them up. No, Dan Quinn has that team a legit defense right now. That defense with that offense right now, they are an absolute legit team that's going to be there in Philly's rearview mirror all the way down to the final week of the season this year. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if they actually overtake them in that division, to be honest with you. And the Eagles, Eagles are the Eagles. I think they're eventually going to reclaim being one of the best teams in the NFC. If some people don't consider them that now, they look at San Francisco or whatever right now over them. But once everything really starts coming together again, I think they're going to be just fine. And the Giants, I think they're dead in the water, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I think they're really regretting that contract they gave Daniel Jones, and they should be. The thing about the Cowboys, it is annoying that they aren't falling off a little. I'll be curious to see as things go on. Does the ugly Dak that we saw last year rear his ugly head again? Because he had a pretty bad season last season. Right now, he's looking at least decent. He's got a great completion percentage. I didn't realize it was over 70%.
Right. I think Dak is a great quarterback. I really do. When he's healthy,
yeah,
he's great.
He's definitely in that Pro Bowler conversation.
You got to hand it to him.
Yeah.
And now Dak has something that he's been missing: a defense that can overcome any mistake he might make. And he has that on the other side of the ball. So when he makes that mistake, throws an interception, he knows he can go to the sideline and go, "I'll get this ball back here real soon anyway."
How did Dallas fall into Micah Parsons?
Because he had character concerns coming out of college, so a lot of people stayed away.
Yeah, that's
right.
How.
Yeah.
And if I'm not mistaken, didn't the Giants swap draft positions with Dallas so Dallas could move up and they drafted Micah Parsons?
That might have been true. Yeah, actually.
Yeah.
So that's which is very ironic.
Yeah. I knew
New York with Lawrence Taylor all them years, and they had a chance to bring in a guy that reminds some people of Lawrence Taylor in some aspects.
The guy's a perennial Pro Bowl,
all pro
candidate. Yeah.
Yeah. He could become the defensive MVP.
Yeah, and in
Otherwise-
terms of Washington, by the way, this is exactly where I predicted him to be 2-2, and I think Dave, you had him 2-2. Also,
We all
you
did.
not?
No,
I-
I had them 1-3 at this point.
Oh, okay.
Oh, did
I
you?
was,
Okay.
yeah, I was 2-2, so they're exactly what I thought they'd be. Although
they're-
I give Sam Howell a little bit more credit than I was prepared to give him, and I give the defense a little less credit.
Yeah, the defense is not nearly as good as I'd hoped it would be. Like, I knew we had a few holes, but it seems like the defense is a mess to me.
Hey, we didn't predict the Bears
we
game.
didn't predict the. All right,
We got to wrap
We're-
up with that.
let's do that and wrap this show up.
All right.
Prediction. I'll go ahead and go first this time. Washington's going to win this one. The Bears. Like I said, it could be a trap game, but I think they'll come in ready here. I'm going to go 24-14 win for Washington.
I did predict a trap game in my season prediction with this. It was because the Thursday night factor, but I didn't count on the Bears I thought the Bears would make a little bit more progress than they had. So I'm literally debating as I'm talking here how far I'm willing to go with this.
The wheels look like they're coming off there a little.
They kind of do, yeah. I think Washington's going to come away with a much closer game than you might think in this. I think they're going to have a bit of a rebound from a quality game against the Eagles. And I don't think the Bears are going to get it quite enough to win. But this will be more like a, 24-20 type of game.
I'm actually looking at. I see Brian Robinson Jr. getting over 100 yards in this game, getting at least one touchdown. I can see a true balance in play calling. I see a 24-9 type game, and it's all because we're going to win the game, the time possession battle, and I think we just keep Justin Fields off the field.
Homer, excuse me. That's okay. Sorry, my throat was all choked up.
Dave, enjoy the blackout game. Because apparently that's what it is.
I will be in New Orleans trying to find an illegal download of this game on Thursday night.
Right. And I have no black jersey because I'm not a real big fan of the black jerseys anyway.
I say that the black is freaking stupid and it's Washington. It's not a color. Just drop it. It's so dumb.
Hopefully after this year they will. But I do have a windbreaker with the W logo on it. I'll be wearing that, so at least I can participate with the black outside.
Okay.
We're a Redskin logo. We're the real logo.
I try not to mesh the two together, Steve. You know my stance on that.
I understand.
No skins cap with the Commanders logo.
The thing is, I might have to make an exception for this game. I have a black Redskins hat. I'm debating on that actually right now if I want to wear it with that, just to wear it there. So I'm black all the way down.
Dave, we're all white. Yet. That's what you should do. Stand out in the crowd.
I have no C words gear.
Yeah. Just go nude. That's what I would say.
Don't do that because he'd have to call me to bail him out of jail.
Well, he'd call me to bail him out. He'd call you for
my legal representation.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because the last thing you need is a Texas real estate attorney to dodge a criminal charge in Maryland.
Right. Unfortunately, I don't know any good Maryland lawyers anymore. Oh, well. Okay, that should do it for this week's episode of The Hogseye. We will see you all next week. Bye.
Later.
All right.